Hi there folks, this is Infected One, and I have taken upon myself to make a tutorial series for Stalker Gamma, with the hope of making it less overwhelming and more accessible to the Stalker enthusiasts. Each episode is going to be focused on a specific subject because of the sheer amount of detail and information. And now before we start this episode, please leave a like and subscribe to this channel for more awesome content. So congratulations, you have downloaded and installed Stalker Gamma, and you're eager to just press the new game and press start without even reading all this baloney. But
stop right there, criminal scum!
Because Stalker Gamma has so much detail and configurations in the settings and the mod configuration menu that you might want to hear about. I'm gonna make it as brief as possible. I'm gonna go over the main important things you need to know about in the settings and the mod configurations, and whatever is not important, I'm just gonna skip, so don't you worry about it. Starting with the regular settings. Visual, aka graphical settings, basic, just screen resolution, field of view. Visual, advanced, this is the things you want to tweak depending on your PC. This is the performance, this is the FPS, this is how things actually look. UI and HUD, this mod is supposed to be played without a crosshair. You can turn it on, but it's not recommended because this is not why you're here. Now the show HUD thingy and all the things below this line I would not touch. Now the player settings, item usage animation. You might want to have this on. I usually don't have this on because it takes some time to skin animals and all those things, and I like to play a bit faster, so I put this off. Item swap animations I always put on because otherwise it's kind of weird for me. Enhanced recoil effects. This is gonna make your recoil feel more realistic, but it will be a bit harder. Example, this is without. And this is with. Can you tell the difference? Now if you want your game more immersive, you might keep this on. I don't like it. Bleeding effect, you're gonna see it on your screen if you're bleeding. Low health blur, everything gets blurry when you're like low on health, and it's kinda sad. It's all depending on how hard you want your balls stomped on in this game. Gas mask overlay, you can have the mask overlay, you can add the breathing fog if you want, the rain droplets when it rains, the glass reflection when you have some sun in your face. Remember, you can always wipe off the rain droplets, just like this. Continuing to weather, you can decide how rare the sun is gonna be out, how rare is it gonna be rainy. When the weather appears, this is how long it's gonna be for. So if it's sunny and sun appears, it's gonna be sunny for 12 hours. This is the rarity, so regular, rare, and none will not happen. When it's cloudy, it's gonna be cloudy for 3 hours. When it's rainy, it's gonna be rare that it's occurring, and it's only gonna be for 3 hours. This is how it works. Now this is night settings. You can decide your moon cycle length if you're into that shit, and you can decide how your night is gonna look and how your moon is gonna look. Very nice stuff. You can actually tailor it to your own experience. I do not touch it because I do not care enough. Okay, sound is sound. It's the stuff that is coming out of your speakers or headphones. There's a radio. You can make your own playlist, but I'm not gonna go into it right now, so we're gonna continue. Controls. This is where you move your mouse sensitivity and aim sensitivity and toggle if sprint, run, crouch, and all that stuff is toggled or not. Keybinds are keybinds, but there are more keybinds related to mods. This is the base game keybinds. Okay, gameplay general. Player name is your name. Outfit player portrait. Outfit player portrait. It basically means when it's toggled on, the portrait right here will change in accordance with your suit. I remove the suit, I look like a bum. I wear the suit, I look like a Chad with a mustache suddenly grown on my face. Goodwill notifications, this is basically your karma changing. If you did a mission for somebody and he likes you, he's gonna tell everybody about it, or you're gonna get a notification that you have goodwill risen. Delayed repairs by mechanics. Mechanics do not repair shit in Gamma, it's all on you. It doesn't matter. The only thing that might matter is the NPC maximum tasks, which is 4 right now. Faction leaders tend to give you like non-stop quests, and capping at 4 is gonna have you miss a lot of quests or not being able to take certain quests until you finish some quests, which might be proving difficult, so you wanna maybe juice it up just a bit. depending on you. Next up, we got stealth kills. It's on default off, but if you want to play with it, it means you can stealth kill anybody. As long as you do it right, people would not know it's you. You need to be suppressed. You need to do it with a knife, and you can read it here. It's experimental. I do not play with it because if I see how easy it is to just wipe out entire bases with this without them ever figuring out what's going on, because the AI is not ready for this mechanic, then I won't have fun. So I just turn this off and I just grind and kill everything without stealth. Progression difficulty and gameplay difficulty can only be changed while in game, like so. If you're in the menu, you will not see anything here. Changes that you do to this progression and gameplay difficulty would only apply to the playthrough which is active right now, which means only to this specific save that you have active. I usually do not touch this because you decide this at the beginning, and this is all like variables that are already bundled up depending on what difficulty you've choose. Disguise. There is a disguise system which is enabled by default in the game. You can disguise yourself as another faction member without them knowing. You have to do it right. There's certain rules to it. They cannot see your face. You need to wear their patch. You need to be wearing their armor. You need to be using guns that they would use. You need to behave yourself and not run around like a maniac, attracting attention in their bases, and so on and so forth. It's a very in-depth system. We're not gonna go through it right now, but just so you know, this is where you touch everything related to it. I would not touch anything. Fast travel. Yeah, you can fast travel in the game to visited locations only. You can also not fast travel at all. You can also fast travel everywhere instantly, but that just takes the fun out of it. So I keep the visited only option and just play it as it is without being able to do it while in combat, while overweight, while wounded, while doing an mission. I just want to make it as immersive as possible while keeping my time safe and being able to not run everywhere. Sometimes is helpful and saves you some time, but you want to do it fair, so I would do it just like this, without touching anything else. Also, it costs money, so you pay for this. The same with backpack travel. Backpack travel means you can fast travel to a stash that you left. You can use your backpacks to create stashes, and they serve as a fast travel point. That's about it. Same rules. Next up, we got the zone. General. Offline combat. You want it on full because it means the stuff is gonna happen without you being there, which is gonna make the zone feel more alive. Also, worth mentioning, if you want some in-depth info, you can sometimes just hover your mouse and it's gonna show you what this is doing. Except this, because this is like obvious, but some stuff is gonna tell you what it's doing. So this is default. I usually do not touch this. I like dynamic anomalies. I love when they change places. It feels immersive. Events. There's an emission and a side storm. You can decide how frequent it is. You can decide if it even happens. You can decide what are the warnings, and you can decide the stalker's fate. For example, if it's an emission, they fucking explode to hell if they're outside. It's sea storms, they turn into zombies. It's fun. Warfare is all about warfare mode. Warfare mode is a game mode you can play which isn't the story mode. It's basically a conquest. You choose a faction and then you conquer other areas and you assert your dominance as said faction in the zone. People reporting that this is kind of buggy, so I have not tried it yet because it's mixed reviews. In general, you can see what everything of these options means, so I'm not gonna go through it. s.t.a.l.k.e.r mode is basically warfare mode, but if you die, you can respawn as a companion or respawn as a member of the faction if companions are not available. You can also make it any ally stalker, neutral stalker, or just like go enemy stalker and switch a faction or whatever. This is it. And these are like preset settings for every faction in the game considering warfare mode. Dynamic news is just how frequent and which messages you're gonna get on the PDA system. There's a lot of banter, threats, some information that is just thrown around from time to time. You shoot somewhere, you hear somebody shoot, and there's gonna be a notification about this guy shooting somewhere, or heard shots fired in the AO and shit like that. It's fun. Keep it on. Now other is basically the language and the Discord status, that if you have it on and the Discord is on, people can see your progress, your location, and all that kind of stuff. Modded access I do not touch, and I recommend you to not touch it either. It is a way too intricate for you right now. Okay, now that we are done with the regular settings, the mod configuration menu is where the magic happens. This is where all the configurations of all the configurable mods are. They're from A to the B to the Z to the UI for some reason, but it's from ABC. It's ABC. Basically, I'm not gonna go through every single one. I'm gonna show you the important ones that I usually tweak, and I'm gonna show you how the keybinds actually work. I highly recommend you guys check through some of these and just do your own things if you want it differently. If you don't want, the defaults are also nice, except the things that I'm gonna tell you about, which you might want to change. The rest you can just live with. So let's dive balls deep. So how do the keybinds work? Remember, these are keybinds for the mods, not for the base game itself. You can configure the double tap window. How fast do you need to tap between each tap for the double tap? And this is the long press multiplier. How long do you need to press for it to be considered a long press? And now these are the keybinds. You see the ones in red means they are conflicted. It's supposed to be like that. Conflicted means you can use add normally, but there's also the option to use add with shift, for example, as a modifier, but it's gonna still be conflicted. You better read this. It gives you more in-depth info than what I just said. Keybind conflicts just shows you the conflicts. For example, you have add and you have add again. One does toggle switch scopes. You can see single tap attaches, detaches current scope, and double tap is switching to the next compatible scope, while the other one is moving your weapon away from you. But it doesn't say that there's a modifier for this, and the only way to know what modifier does it have is actually going to the mod itself, adjust scopes HUD, and see that the modifier is shift key and the keybinds are these. For example, this is me pressing add on the numpad and nothing happens because I don't have a scope I can attach to this fucking gun. But if I press shift while aiming and pressing add, you can see that it actually moves forward like this. If I do subtract, it brings it closer, and if I do shift backspace, it brings it back to the default. The default in this mod is decided by the values you have here. For example, this is an iron sight, so the default is this, of how close it's gonna be to your face. Okay, talking about auto looter, I would not use this as a new player because it kind of speeds up the processes that you need to learn as a new player, like disassembling, choosing which part, just what is junk, what is not. I think that using left alt as a new player, you won't learn what the hell is going on and why is random weapon parts just appearing out of nowhere. You need to learn how to disassemble a gun yourself. You right click, you disassemble, and you need to choose the parts, and how to choose which parts to take we'll discuss in another video. So in general, just keep auto loot until you're confident enough in knowing what the hell you're looting and what the hell you don't need. Beef's NVG, the only thing I would change here is NVG stay on when viewing PDA. It's kind of annoying because you won't see anything in the PDA. It's gonna be super bright, and can use NVGs while aiming down sights. This is less immersive because I don't see how can you wear NVGs and aim down sight at the same time. But if you don't want to go full hardcore army military man, you can keep this on. This is what I'm doing. Blackjack, it's nice. You can play blackjack with the traders. This is just the minimum and the maximum bet of your money. Go gamba, go lose all your money, enjoy. Body health system just shows the little guy at the side and all your limbs and stuff like that. Do not touch it. Skipping over to custom companion squad size. Now the normal number of maximum companions is 1, unless you have folk hero achievement, which is very high reputation in game. You can have 2. This does not count quest companions. Some quests give you companions by default. They are not touched by this cap. If you want to create a squad by, like, you paid off some stalkers to hang out with you for a day or two and you want them to be multiple and not just one guy, you can make your squad size bigger. Next up, we got the DAO, the Dynamic Anomalies Overhaul. These settings apply to artifacts and the anomalies in the zone. People usually do not change this because this is how the game is meant to be played. Also, switching between normal to hard doesn't seem to really change the values here for me, so I don't know what this is all about, but just want to keep it at this. If you want more artifacts, you can move the sliders over here. If you want less anomaly spawning, move this over here. It's basically a very detailed, so you can understand pretty easily, but it's a good thing to know because this is important for your artifact progression. So if you want it grindier, you do less artifacts. You want it less grindy, you do more artifact spawning. This is about it. I usually do not touch it. Next up, we got drop condition. This is actually also affecting how grindy your game is gonna be. Since Stalker Gamma doesn't have the ability to buy guns and buy armor, and everything you find is broken, you'll have to fix everything. These parameters, outfits and weapons, dictate what's the minimum and the maximum condition of outfits and weapons based on the rank of the Stalker. You see zombified, novice, trainee, veteran, etc. Meaning, the higher the value of the condition of weapons and outfits, the higher chance there will be parts in very high condition in said outfits and weapons. So the higher the weapon condition is, it means the parts inside of it are of higher value, and you need to collect parts of high value or high condition in order to fix or craft your own guns and outfits. So the lower it is, the more guns you need to find until you can find a viable part that you can fix or repair or clean in order to put it in your own stuff. I usually do not touch it. I like the game as is, as grindy as it is. It's very nice for me. Also ammunition. How much ammo do you want to find? I usually keep it on 1 because buying ammo is always fun. Next up, we got the faction identification. Basically means every dude you aim at, you will see his rank, you will see his faction, and you will see his name at the bottom left. Like this guy is the Maha Hotshot, and this guy is an asshole. So basically you can decide if you can even identify them. You can decide if they're gonna show your rank and their name or only their faction. You can decide how fast you identify them. The more far away the target is, the longer it takes you to identify it and the longer you have to aim at it before you know which faction is from. You can also change the position of this thing, and let's say if I move it like this, I do apply, I aim at this guy and now it's over here. Okay, next up we have the fair fast travel, the one we talked about before in the regular settings. This is more in-depth settings for said fast travel. Now you can make the fast travel more strict, or you can make it more lenient, more comfortable to roam around. In general, there is a gear condition damage. If you do fast travel, you also pay money. You can turn this off, you can make it harder. You can do that there's a cooldown between travels. Basically, there's a regular travel to any location or to your backpack, or there's guided travel in which you pay a certain stalker or guide to take you somewhere in the zone. When you take a guide, it ignores you being overweight and wounded as a default. You cannot fast travel while being wounded or overweight by yourself, but with a guide you can. If you want to make it more hardcore, you can tweak around these settings. They're pretty straightforward. I usually do not touch it, but important to know that this is a major part of your game. You wanna give attention to these settings before you start. Okay, next up we got the Grox Gotta Go Fast. This is basically your run speed multiplier. This is the default. You might sometimes say that it's pretty fast, but the maps are pretty huge. Each zone is pretty giant, and the default makes you slightly faster than usual, especially when you sprint. So take this into consideration before lowering or raising. You're already kind of fast as fuck. Also depending on your gear and so on and so forth. Okay, next up we got new tasks add-on. There are a bunch of tasks that are unique, special, like Skyfall is go blow up a helicopter somewhere. They can be repeatable, which makes it kind of weird sometimes because they feel like a quest that is like a one-time side quest, and it's not like there's a million of helicopters just keep spawning so you can repeat it over and over again. I would click most of these off depending on if you like to do the quest, if it makes sense to you to do it again. For example, my Skyfall is on right now. I will make it on off and I'll just do Skyfall and I won't see that quest ever again. So I'm not expecting you to just turn all of these off. Just check if your quest is in here once you get it and decide if you want to get it again in the future and do it again. Some of them I know you won't want to do. So this is where you turn it off. Okay, next up we have outfit drops. This is also a very important thing because it affects your progression just like the outfits and weapon condition drops. Outfit drops basically means what are the chances of the enemy or NPC that you have killed to drop his armor. Now as you can see, as the helmets and outfits are getting stronger from light to exoskeleton, the drop chances going down, which is how it should be, because you don't want every guy that have an exoskeleton to drop the exoskeleton unless you're a maniac, and it's just gonna beat the purpose of the grindiness of Gamma. So if you want to make the game less grindy and you want a good exoskeleton from the first guy you killed, just go 100. They all gonna drop their their exoskeletons, but don't. I'm just mentioning this because if you want the game less grindy, just tweak this a bit to the right side, all of them, just a tiny bit, you know. If you want the game more grindy, take it a bit to the left, you know. This is about grind. Next up, we have the PDA task board. Basically, your PDA is like a task board. If you press J in game, you can refresh tasks. It's gonna show you the task of people in the surrounding vicinity. I have to change my battery. Okay, sorry. Now you can see I've changed my battery. You can actually see the brightness of the screen. This is where you can accept tasks. You have the description, you have the area, you have the faction. It's all here. And now what PDA task board does, you can actually make the range of the tasks higher. It means that every task from an NPC in a 200 meters, you're gonna receive in your PDA. Usually this is kind of too much. 100 is more than enough to get all the NPCs that are in the base, and it's not like all the NPCs in the zone. So I usually keep it on 100. If you want to get all the NPC quests in the zone, just put it on maximum, and it's probably gonna give you a lot more quests because some NPCs are not in the base but roaming around, and this is gonna be easier to get quests this way. The next thing is, if you don't like your peripherals going all blurry when you aim in, just go to SSS settings, weapon DOF, which is depth of field, and get the blur intensity to disabled like so. And now you won't have blur and blur peripheral. It will not be a thing anymore. I like it though, so I keep it. You can also have depth of field when reloading. It means your guy is focused on the weapon when he's reloading, and everything else is kind of blurry around, which makes kind of sense. So you can turn this on as well. You can have it when you're using a PDA because the guy is focused on the PDA and everything around is blurry, you know. Basically works with all the things that make your guy not look around but look into the inventory, and it just adds a bit of immersiveness in my opinion. But if you don't like it, you can turn all of this off and you can put these two all the way left. You won't have any blur whatsoever. Also, if you're already talking about the SSS settings, this entire area is all about tweaks, performance, how stuff look, you know, terrain, water, wetness, wind, shadows, all of this is here. Test it out on your own rig. Tell me what you think. Tell me what works best for you, so maybe we'll make a guide about this. I would love the info from you guys. Next up, we got skills. Now, skills is a thing in this game. If you run a lot, you can run faster. You level up your stamina, you level up your strength, and you can check these when pressing K in game. Like so. You see endurance, scavenging, strength, and you can see what it does, and you can see what's the modifier. Now you can play around with the multipliers to make it easy to level up. I usually do not touch it, but also a way to make the game easier or harder is to play with the multipliers of said experience points per skill. Okay, next up is Souls-like. You will probably not play Souls-like mode on your first playthrough. It basically means if you die somewhere, all your gear is staying there. You're gonna be revived at your last sleeping point and you lose some skill progression, and then you need to go to your body to reclaim your gear, just like in Souls games. It makes the game harder. Good thing to know, it's here. You won't use it in your first playthrough, so we're just gonna go ahead. Next up, we got the weapon parts overhaul. Do not touch anything over here because it's all about jamming your guns and it's gonna ruin the Gamma experience. All you wanna do is click this, and when you have a jam, you're just gonna shout out profanities, and you can even choose which language they're gonna be. This is all you need for this mod. Now let's continue. Now next up, and we are almost done, is the yaks, also known as yet another campfire save. You can decide where you can save the game. You can decide you want to do it only at lit campfires. You decide you want to do it only in neutral bases or friendly bases, and you can do both of them if you want. The default is all of them on. Next up, we got ZCP. Now in the ZCP main settings, you can choose the mutant population and stalker population factor. The base for stalkers is 0.45 and the base for mutants is 0.5. Now 0.45 for stalkers, it means there's about 420 AI stalkers in the zone. So the higher you raise it, the more stalkers are gonna appear through the zone, and it's gonna jump exponentially. This is a very, very dangerous feature. You might think it's not a lot, but this is gonna be a madhouse. This can get out of hand very quickly if you tweak it too much. It's gonna make the maps and the zones over flooded with mutants and stalkers, and it's gonna be absurd. I usually keep it the way it is without touching it. And this was it for the settings and the mod configurations for now. We can finally go to the interesting part, which is the new game. Now, starting out a new game, we can choose a faction. Not all factions are here. There are some secret factions like the Sin, like the Uni-SN, and yes, also the zombie faction. You can play as a fucking zombie. Now, the way to unlock the option to play those secret factions is to just type out these words on this screen. Yeah, just use your keyboard to type these words on this screen, and they are gonna appear as an option when you select factions. So for example, I'm gonna do Uni-SG faction. Boom, the Uni-SG appears, and now we can choose it. I strongly suggest you don't start with factions that you don't even see, and especially not as Monolith. If you're new to the game, go with the Loners, go with Clear Sky, which are even easier because these guys are friendly with mercenaries, unlike the Loners. You can start with Duty or Freedom, but it's gonna be a bit harder because they started harder areas with difficult quests but the same gear. So I would suggest you start as a Loner or a Clear Sky, and you start in the Rookie Village. If you choose Clear Sky, do not start at the Great Swamps. It's not that hard, but this area just sucks. If you started out, this area sucks. So after we've chosen the faction, and a good thing to mention, these are your relations. Everybody who is yellow is neutral to you, and everybody who is red is gonna be your enemy, and it changes from faction to faction, and this is how you can decide who you're gonna play. So after we choose in our faction, and we chose that we want to start, for example, in the Rookie Village, because each faction has different places they can start. For example, Freedom does not have the Rookie Village, and Duty has only the makeshift barracks in Rostock. So after we have chosen the Rookie Village, and we have chosen the best of portraits for ourselves, like fucking the marked one, we are choosing the game difficulty. So the Gamma mod pack is supposed to be difficult. You can play it on Rookie. If you really have nice big balls, you can play on Veteran. If you're a gamer and you're not afraid of a challenge, you can go Stalker. It's a good balance of things. Now next up here, you want to start with Story Mode. Story Mode is basically the game. Azazel Mode is like, if you die, you become somebody else. You can see it's not compatible with Story Mode. It's only gonna work with Warfare Mode, the mode that we talked about earlier. This makes the game way more different. It's not story, it's just you fighting other factions for dominance, and it's also reported to be very buggy. So start with Story Mode. Survival Mode is basically Stalker's zombies. It's just hordes of zombies coming to get ya and see how long you can survive all those zombies. Souls-like mode is basically playing the game. When you die, you get all your shit dropped where you died, and you get reset at the last place you went to sleep, and then you go and get it. And if you can't get it, you fucked. You're gonna be naked again. It makes the game a lot harder. Do not start with this on your first playthroughs. And you want to start with the accessible zone. It's on by default. It makes you feel a lot more free to roam around the zone. There's some restrictions, but you can go to a zone, let's say, but you might not survive there without certain items. But this makes it all accessible to go anywhere you want and enjoy the zone at its fullest. Iron Man mode is basically fuck you big time by Gamma. When you die a certain amount of times, your game just gets deleted. All your saves are just getting deleted. It's basically like Path of Exile hardcore. If your character dies, it dies. You can decide how many lives you have. You can decide if you can get more lives as the time passes in game. For example, you can get 1 life for every 5 days or 1 life for every 3 days. Sleeping does not help. You cannot just spam sleep and get more lives. Basically, there's a community achievement and challenge. See who has the biggest balls. It's called Invictus or something like that. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it right. It's basically playing Iron Man mode with 1 life, and I'm not sure you can get any more life granting. I think it's just like this. So if you die twice, you're done. You cannot get the achievement, and you die a lot in this game. you die a shit ton. So it just it's coming here to tell you. And also you have to do Iron Man mode on veteran, on like hardcore, on hard mode on both. So yeah, do not start with this on your first or second or third playthrough, please. Now agony mode just makes it that saving is more restrictive. You cannot save when you're bleeding, when injured, in combat, so you cannot save scum as easily if you're doing like Iron Man mode challenge or just the basic storyline. Last thing is your progression difficulty. This changes how easy it is to get outfits and parts and weapons and all those things we discussed before, but it also changes the amount of points you start with to get your initial gear. This is preset stuff that you always gonna get. But as you can see, you probably don't know, but there's nothing here that actually heals your HP. This only prevents bleeding, for example. You don't even have a suit. So you want to take a suit. Do you take a good suit or do you take a shitty suit? They all have points. You want a gas mask? You probably want a gas mask because radiation is gonna consume your soul. There's some bullets here, but it's AP bullets. You're gonna start with the caliber of the gun you choose. So this is extra bullets. Do not think that if you pick a gun, you won't have bullets unless you choose this. Every gun you pick is gonna come with a certain amount of bullets, not a lot, and this is only extra. So because I'm a Chad in this game, I usually go on hard, but let's say you're new to the game, so you want to do like medium because you are a gamer and such. You can choose the good suit. Always take a gas mask. Take this gun. It's just invincible. It's very good against humans and it's very good against mutants, and it has a big magazine and it shoots pretty fast. With the remaining points, you probably want to take some heals like the medkits and maybe take some ibuprofen for post healing. You'll thank me later. I'll explain what post healing is. And also Yadulin, also for post healing of other stuff which ibuprofen doesn't fix. And the rest of your points you can just choose. You can take another medkit and then some food, you know. This is actually a lot of stuff because this is on medium. The jump from medium to hardcore is very big because you have less points. So basically this is what I do if I play hardcore. I just take a good suit, I take this gun, I take a gas mask, and I take 2 medkits, and then I chat it out because I'm a fucking madman. I forgot to say, but there's timer mode. You can make it so there is a timer between saves that you cannot spam saves and you need to wait like 10 minutes between each save or like 40 minutes or whatever. And that's about it about the timer. And yeah, you can just randomize everything you did just like this and fucking start. And don't give a shit, you know? It's great. Don't ever randomize because I'm a bandit and I don't have a gun. I do have bullets, but I don't have a gun. Oh, a binocular. So basically I'm a pervert with a knife, and yeah, don't ever randomize on your first one unless you want to do a meme run. I know this. We got a gun. See? We good. I know this episode has been a bit long because it's a new... Oh my god, like I just can't catch a break. Oh my god. They can jump. Okay, so as I was saying, I know this episode was a bit long, but it's the first episode on how to configure a lot of things before you start out. In no way is this an in-depth episode of how to do everything in the settings, but only the things which I think are the most crucial ones before you start your gameplay and things that are important to know. So expect more episodes to come out soon. Each with his own category, a lot shorter than this one, I hope, don't worry. And if you want, join me on Twitch on Mondays and Wednesdays. I stream Stalker Gamma. I'm playing as a Freedom Faction goober. And thank you all for watching this video. Please send me to heaven.